Hey guys, yeah, you can kind of look at this and look at the title and you're thinking, a CAW log, or vlog, what's that? And it's basically a Creative Wrestling CAW League vlog. It's not an update, it's more like just talking about anything CAW. Now, of course, you know my league, DCWA, is kind of gotten under the, kind of got a lot of, I wouldn't say coverage, but I would say more along the lines of basically a lot of people have talked about it, sometimes good, sometimes not so good. And here's the thing, you know, I appreciate any kind of advice I get. You know, I can appreciate people coming out and telling me that maybe the best way you should do it is to do it a way that makes it look more presentable. A good example in my case would be Summer of Violence, my CPV. For any of you that were trying to watch the live stream initially, when I got to the eight man championship match, the 8-man United States Championship match, as soon as we got down to the final four, as I mentioned, one of the participants went to the top rope, drop kicked another one. That character that got drop kicked into bumped right into the referee hit the ropes, and then that's when it crashed. The end result, though, as far as it looked like it was heading in that direction, was Zach Starr, the CAW Zach Starr, is now the DCWA United States Champion. Now, basically what this made me do, though, is instead of going into universe mode to continue, mainly because it was going to either have me restart the whole thing, or it was already simulated. I don't know exactly what happened, but anyway, point is, I ended up having to basically what I did is I used the play option, you know, like the I used the play option, which is like exposition, if you will. Expedition, yeah, easy for me to say. Expedition, if you will, to finish off the rest of the card. Now, I'm sure a lot of you saw that, okay, now initially when I finished Summer of Violence, I put it into a playlist. Now, what's funny is I was using a website called pickvideo.net, and when I went to go use it again, suddenly it was down. So I Googled YouTube download YouTube videos, and it was the first thing on top in the search engine. So I clicked on it, and it took me to something to another site that enables me to do it. It's basically the same site but under a different name. Now, how long that will last, I don't know. But the point is, I was able to download a lot of my videos and was able to stitch them together through the Cyber Power Director software, which is a home video software, and create the whole experience. Now, which was about 3 hours 57 minutes altogether. Now, had the 8-man tag gone a little longer, had gone the way it was supposed to, you're probably looking at a 4-hour show. Right around that, a little over a 4-hour show, basically. But the point is, that's what I had to do. I have not only a playlist, of them, the matches individually, but I have a whole video of it, and it was through through the help of the Cyber Power Director software. Now again, like I said, I can understand when people say that that's probably the best way to go. Not only are you piecing together these things to make them look more legit, but you're giving yourself room to probably do some commentary, do some exposition as to why this or that is happening. And again, I appreciate all the advice. I appreciate all the advice that I get. I really do. I do appreciate it. But here's the thing. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I live with family. And especially at this time of year, it's kind of hard to do exactly that. To edit and do commentary without family interrupting, because there will be times where my family, my mom in this case, will want me to do something, or she'll want to ask me a question, or she'll be on the phone with somebody like one of my family members, and they'll have a question for her, and she'll have to ask me if I know the answer, or she could be on the phone with a friend or a business or a company trying to get an answer, trying to figure something out, and she may want to ask me that answer if I'm home. On top of that, I also work. So I get tired. And if I'm tired, I don't have time to do any of this. Now, I know some people are thinking, well, Brian, you could do it individually. You could do like one. Now, I know some people think, well, maybe you could do an hour's worth one day and then another hour worth whenever you can, and there you go. And that's true, I can. And that's true, maybe I can, but still, the same scenario that I just pointed out comes into play. I live with family. I live with family, and that's a major priority right there, because they'll want help with things. They'll ask me questions about certain things, and it will distract. You see, my family, with all due respect, because I do love her, my mom, who raised me, has gone through all the ups and downs with me when I was a kid. My mom is one of those people that don't quite understand how things work. She really isn't. I mean, she does. I mean, don't get me wrong. She does understand how certain things work. Don't get me wrong about that. She does understand how certain things work. But she doesn't quite grasp things like, oh, you're live streaming, so you're online and you can't be interrupted. You can't pause an online game. You can't do this or that. She doesn't quite get that. I mean, she's learning, but she's not there. But she doesn't, like I say, quite get the idea that sometimes you can't stop in the middle of an online game. You can't pause the game, and as everybody else gets paused, you can't do that. So again, that goes back to what I'm saying. The only legitimate way I would ever have a shot at probably doing any of this in the future is that late at night. Like, if I get home tonight after the 4th of July celebration with my family and my sisters, and whether or not I'm buzzed or I'm not buzzed or whatever the case may be, alright, whatever the case may be, late at night, if not very early in the morning when I'm off, it's the best opportunity I have either way. It is. It's the best opportunities I have. And again, I'm not saying I don't appreciate, the advice people like Princeton peers and others give me. I do. But the way I do it sometimes is, I think, a little bit more easier, especially in my living situation, in my living and work situation. I mean, I have to come here and work almost every day for about 6 to 8 hours, or between 4 to 6 to, well, I have to come here and work between 4 to 8 hours, depending on my schedule. So it's a little hard to do any kind of stuff of like what you guys, like what the people that do DCA and CCL and ACW and all them, what they do. So it's not easy when you're tired, and it's not easy. It's a lot harder. So in my opinion, the best solution is just to go live stream, and if I have to, which I'm sure people don't appreciate at times, I will let the in-game announcers that are Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Byron Saxton do the play-by-play. That's about it. It's not, like I said, if I had a little bit more time, it'd be easier. It might be more fun. But to me, this is easier, more laid back to do if I just do the live stream and be done with it. And if I have to go the route like what I did with Summer of Violence, if something comes up, I will do that. And when it comes to my CPVs, here's the thing. I once said this, and I'll say it again. I once said this one time when I was talking about my CAW League, my CAW League, and I'll say it again. My CPVs, the reason there's no commentary is we let the action speak for itself. In other words, we go by that old adjective of actions speak louder than words. That's what we do. That's what I do. I let the action during the CPV events like Summer of Violence, WrestleMania, Super Event, I let the action speak loud. I let the action do the talking. The action in the ring do the talking. So if you're wondering why there's no commentary doing those events, there's your answer. And some people might feel it's amateurs. Some people may say, well, what's the point? Well, why is this match happening? It's real simple. You let the action speak, okay? And one thing people do constantly get on me about is, well, what's the continuing story? Here's the thing. I do a lot. I do, when it fits, do some story arcs. Do follow-ups to situations. Like, I'll give you an idea. I'll give you an example. Elastigirl, the CAW of Elastigirl, just lost in a kind of sunset flip, if you will, or backslide pinfall to the re-debut in DCWA of Envy, of HWO, Envy, who's been seen in CCL, DCA, you name it. And now, basically, that will be followed up very soon with Elastigirl defending the Women's United States title against Envy on an upcoming Women of Honor show. It's simple as that. This story is like Elastigirl now has to defend, and hopefully we'll get her win back from Envy. And then you take a look at how many times did I do Judy Hop, Sally Acorn against each other for the Women's World title? A lot. I even did a Final Battle 2 1-hour Iron Woman match inside Hell in the Cell, which Judy just barely won or got through and retained her title. In both times, both characters went the limit and tied at the end. The point I'm getting at, folks, is this. When it comes to stories, there are stories there. But I don't do it the way some people might think I should. If I'm going to do it, I'll do it my own unique way. And if constantly having people go up against each other is a way of doing it, so be it. I'll do it. Heck, if I want them to come out and attack a character before they get to the ring, I'll do it. That's just me. That's just how I operate. That's just how I do things with my life. And besides, you can't tell me that I'm the only one that does that. Look, with all due respect, look at WDEF. They're a great up-and-coming CAW league, but are they all mostly OC CAWs? No, they're a mixture of CAWs and current, if not Hall of Fame superstars of the WWE. That's all they are. And again, they're a great league, but really, what's the point of having a CAW league if the main emphasis of CAW is mixed in with that? I know it creates intriguing story arcs and maybe matches and all that, but you can kind of get the idea of where I'm coming from. And then heck, sometimes they, and even SCAW, allow the commentary in the game to take over more than they can. here's another thing. I know they've been doing it for many years. 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, whatever. But come on, seriously, when you edit a match together, with all due respect, they do a great job. Tremendous job. But seriously, when you put a match together and you have to edit it just a bit, honestly, spanning to the crowd is not the way to do it. You don't span to the crowd and say, oh, whoa, we're going to look at the crowd now. Well, we're going to look at the crowd now while we do some editing. No. Here's the thing. What makes people, I believe, in my opinion, enjoy what I do is I don't cut away. I let the match happen. I'm not a perfectionist, that is true. I let the match happen. I let it happen and I let it go the way it should. Again, I'm not perfect. But I don't, with all due respect, I don't edit out to the crowd to make it look like, oh look, the crowd's more important than what's going on in the ring. You don't do that. You don't do that. You keep your focus on the ring and what's happening on the action in the ring, even if it's messed up or something like that. You keep the action going. Because here's why. The more that 2K and people at the WWE games see some of these glitches and situations that take place in the game right now, the more it may hopefully make them realize, hey, we need to fix this. We need to get this fixed. We need to take care of this. And they hopefully will. That's the thing. Hopefully they will. But honestly, with all due respect, DCA and CCL and all of them, they do some great shows. They have great rosters. They have great OC characters and whatnot. And they have some great story arcs when they need it. I mean, heck, Revy and Nadi, I think, was one of the best ones they had going for quite some time. It was a rivalry story arc that lasted for a couple of years, several years, and it just culminated. I mean, heck, they had to use one of the Fire Pro Wrestling games that came out, recently or something like that, just to do one of the match stipulations that those two characters are involved in. The thing is, I have respect. I mean, this is why I wanted to create DCWA. Hey, because I was inspired by CCL and DCA and all of them. But I know that the only thing that's made each and every one of them successful in the eyes of others, of people that view them and support them, is their own different take of doing things, their own different way of doing things. And that's how I am. I have my own different take. I have my own different way of doing things when it comes to my CAW League. Some people may not like it, but that's the way I run with it. Now, I have to get back in and get ready to clock in, or at least get something to eat before I clock in. But I do want to address one other thing. Now, a lot of you probably know that I've had some controversy at times with the fact that I've downloaded certain CAWs to my roster that people have felt I shouldn't be using. And out of due respect, I have deleted or removed some of those characters. But there are still some OC CAWs that are still there, and yes, some people will ask me not to use them, and I won't, even though they're still part of my roster. I won't use them because I've been asked not to. Heck, I even explained why you haven't seen much of DCWA Raw lately, which is the male CAW show, if you will, for the male roster. So, that's one of the reasons. But it seems to me that lately I haven't really heard too much. And when I do, okay, I get it. But it's almost like, to me, when one of those OC CAWs that I've been asked not to use at times, when I do use them and I make them a champion, I don't hear much arguments. It's almost like if I put the championship or a championship around their waist, some people may back off. It's like, hey, you can use my character now. You've made him a champion. And if that's one way of getting people to kind of, get off my back, at the fact that I'm not trying to hurt anybody. And like I said, 2K and WWE games, they won't give a damn whether you complain to them or you don't about what's going on. Although if that's what it's going to take, fine. But here's the other thing. With the exception of the CAW Demi Blackheart, there are other CAW female characters that I've used. Some OC, some based on certain female characters in animation, live action, comic books, anime. But there have been some OCs as well. But yet, I have not heard a single thing about them. I've not heard anybody get on me about Mercedes. I've not heard anybody get on me about Olivia, whatever her name is. Or certain other ones. And here's why. Not here's why, but basically what I'm saying is, I haven't heard anybody get on me about them, and that's kind of strange. Do they not value those characters as much as they do the male characters they create? I'm just wondering. And what's even more funny is recently I did a deathmatch tournament, as well as, like I mentioned, I put the championship on 2 of these characters as a team in their DCWA debuts as a team. And then I had them, ironically, even though I played as the other characters, had them go up against each other in the finals of today, or of this morning's 4th of July Queen of the Deathmatch tournament. And that's Sakura and Juri. Sakura from I Want to Be the Strongest, and Juri, Sonata, and nobody says anything about that. You know why? Because even though they have them involved in a rivalry or story arc, they can't get angry with me on them because those are not their characters. Those are anime characters based on other franchises. So, it's kind of, I'm not saying hypocritical on both ends, but it's kind of weird that when it comes to the female OCs and even the CAWs that are created based on animes, comics, and all that, nobody says anything. But yet when it comes to the male OCs, certain ones they will. I don't understand that. But to me, I don't know. I guess it's just the way things are with them. But anyway, I got to get back into work now. I got to grab something real quickly before I clock in. Really, I just wanted to come on here and do a CAW League vlog and just kind of get some things off my chest and talk about certain things involving CAW Leagues, my own, CCL, and DCA. And speaking of DCA, check out and VWU. As a matter of fact, DCA just had Wildcats Death and Defiance, Wildcats D&D. Check that out. That's their newest CPV. Check that out. It looks really good. They just did a 5th anniversary show. Check that out as well. CCL has a couple events coming up as well. VWU just recently did Prestige, as well as they got Insurgents coming up. I think that's the name of it. Check those out as well. And I have some CPVs planned upcoming very soon as well. But also continue checking out my league as it keeps going. But really, that's all I'm going to say for this vlog. Just thought I'd get some things off my chest. And that's about it. So, till next time, guys, I will talk to y'all later. I got to get back to work. Peace out.